Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Dislife Podcast. If you're looking for a home where you can live your best Disney life, then you are in the right place. I am your host, Mark Valentine, and I want to thank you so much for joining us again here today on Dislife Podcast. If this is the first time you're joining us, then welcome. And if you've downloaded one of our episodes before, welcome back. We have a wonderful episode 12 in store for you today as we welcome back John Hinson and Dwayne Willie to the show to share the results of the latest Dislife Podcast poll, where we asked our listeners on social media to pick their top 5 Pixar films. If you like what you hear, head out to our website at www.disneyLifepodcast.com, where you can hear all of our old episodes and download them. Rate the show, leave us a review, and feel free to keep the conversation going over at our Facebook group, Dislife on Facebook, and check out our Instagram at Dislife Podcast. We have a wonderful social media community, and we're so excited to bring you Friday Night Lives and Sunday Game Night every single week, and you don't need to be a Patreon in order to access those. We give them out for free to our members. So for the past month, we have been tallying the votes for all of these Pixar films over at For the Love of Disney World. And Dwayne Willie was our man with the plan again. He is the poll master. And he and John Hinson were pushing the numbers over at For the Love of Disney World. And also Matt DeFranco was helping us out at For the Onesie, which is his Facebook group. And then in our group, Dislife Podcast, over on our website, we had this up for about 2.5 weeks. And we were tallying votes for people to tell us what their favorite Pixar films were. And the way it worked was there are 22 Pixar films that have been released to date. And we did not want them to list 22 films. It's just a lot for them to do that. But we also didn't want to make the list that they were allowed to choose from broad enough so that they could kind of get out of making some really tough decisions. So Dwayne and I decided that they were going to be only able to choose 5 films, and that was it. So they had to choose from their 22 favorite Pixar films, and they had to narrow it to 5. So in a lot of cases, some very beloved films wound up falling out of the way. So we asked John and Dwayne to join us here today. Gentlemen, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me.
The last time we did this was a blast with the rides.
Oh, man, I can't wait to hear.
And this got, for me at times, a little bit more emotional than the rides, because while the rides have memories that are associated with them, movies are meant to elicit emotion. So some of these were first date films. Some of these were the first films, like for me, the first real film that I watched with my daughter. So there are real emotions that are attached to some of these. So when some of them didn't do well or didn't perform to my expectations as I tallied this, I was a little brokenhearted. I think you guys are going to be surprised too, because John. So that's the other thing, that John and Dwayne don't know the answers. They don't know any of this. They're going to be surprised, completely surprised by the results here. I'm the only one that knows the results to this poll.
Oh man!
So I'm gonna be hitting them with some of these like a ton of bricks. And the cool thing, right, gentlemen, is when you do this, like you become a little invested in the content too, right?
Totally.
Yeah,
like writing down my list, I was like, okay, I had to really break it down.
And I think that some of you, I know your lists as well, so I think some of you are going to be disappointed. So what I'm going to do for the sake of time, and our last list was so epic and so awesome, but we ran over, I think it was over an hour and 20 minutes for our rides list because we just got so into it. And again, Linda is my critic and my producer. And she's told me, Mark, she knows the metrics. She says, Mark, half hour. You've got to cut these long form episodes down to half hour because people don't want to be listening to you talk for that long. So we're going to try to, what we're going to do is I'm going to list from 22 to 10. I'm going to list as they were voted on by the people of For the Love of Disney World. And then if there's anything that stands out, let's kind of in memoriam, let's talk about those films that did not quite make the upper echelon. And if there's any surprises, we can dialogue those. So again, everyone only had 5 votes. And the thing I'll give for the top 10 is what percentage of the vote each film garnered of everyone. So if I say like it's 6.1%, That means of all the people that voted, only 6.1% had that in their top 5. And then the website wound up doing was developing an aggregate score and placing them based upon the percentile of people that placed them in the top 5. From number 22, so this was the least ranked film. 22, Cars 2. 21, Cars 3. 20, The Incredibles 2. Bit of a surprise there.
Yeah, that one surprises me. I thought The Incredibles 2 was pretty good.
I thought so too. 19, and this is as voted on by the group. So these are not our scores. The Good Dinosaur, 19. 18, Toy Story 4. 17, Finding Dory. Another little bit of a surprise there.
Wow.
16 was A Bug's Life. 15, Monsters University. That was a huge surprise for me because Monsters University was like up near the top for me. 14, Onward. 13, hold on. Ready? Ready for 13? Toy Story 3.
What? Wow. Oh my God. Oh, come on. People.
You ready for 12? 12, Toy Story 2.
Oh my gosh.
11, Dwayne's not going to lose any sleep over this one. Wall-E was 11.
No. Yeah.
And that rounds out the bottom 11 films.
Well,
Dwayne, I know Dwayne, he's shaking his head right now. I got video, but it's audio content, but I can see Dwayne in this recording. Dwayne's shaking his head because I already know what you're going to talk. Go ahead, Dwayne. You got to get it out, so go ahead.
Yeah, Toy Story really surprises me. Or Toy Story 2, 3, and 4, really, but especially Toy Story 3. But I'm assuming by what you read, obviously almost everybody kind of downgraded any of the sequels, it looks like.
Yeah.
All the sequels kind of got a step down. No, and I can understand that.
You said that was going to happen.
Top 5, yeah. You
said that was going to happen. And I remember when we talked about this list, that was one of your fears about the Toy Story franchise specifically. Mm-hmm. You're splitting the vote 4 ways.
Yeah.
So people inherently had to choose what their favorite Toy Story was, and some fell off. And you had Toy Story 3 as your number 2.
I did. And to me, again, I have some sentimental attachments to some of the Toy Story movies with my wife and my kids. And, so that obviously has something to do with it. And Buzz Lightyear is one of my favorite characters as well. So there's like I said, there's a lot of sentimental attachment. Like you said, there's emotion that is involved in seeing a movie and the memories that go along with that movie.
There are a lot of people that put Toy Story 3 as their top Toy Story film, though.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it was in my wife's top 5 was Toy Story 3.
Because it's of the 3, right, John? It's what you thought was going to be the climax of the films as they're on the conveyor belt and they're all holding hands. Like there was a lot of emotion in Toy Story 3 that the first film was a lot of fun, a lot of lessons, but there wasn't that you hadn't grown with these characters over the course of the last decade and a half. And then Toy Story 3, you thought that was the culmination of the series. You like I was like losing it at that moment. When I watched Toy Story 3 for the first time, I went, "Oh my goodness, they're going to burn."
Yeah, started crying.
And someone's like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Disney movies kill, like characters die in Disney movies. I don't know what you're talking about." Like, yeah, they're kid movies, but I thought that was how it was going to end. I was like, I had to pause and walk out of the room for 2 seconds. I came back. I'm like, I need to prepare for this. So there's a lot of people that will put Toy Story 3 at the top of their list. So when I was compiling this afternoon, I saw the raw score. So Toy Story 3 got 17.5% of people put it in their top 5. I was shocked by that one. Mm-hmm. That was the one that really shocked me. John, anything else? I mean, Toy Story, I think, would stand out. Is there anything else that stood out to you?
No, it all kind of makes sense, except for I think we can all agree that Cars should not have that many movies.
No. I'm sorry if I'm going to catch some flack, and I might get beat up on the comments section if people leave a comment in our reviews. I've never really been much of a Cars fan. I just they're enjoyable, but they don't have the replay value that some of these have for me.
Yeah.
And especially like I don't disagree. Cars 2 and Cars 3, like Cars 3 was terrible. Like I like that there's 2 Pixar movies that if I see them on Disney Plus, like I'm skipping. Like you could be like, "Hey, do you want to watch Cars 3 or do you want to watch The Good Dinosaur?" I'm like, "Nah. I'll put on something else.
I'll pass.
I'll pass."
I do like The Good Dinosaur, but I get like it's kind of like down and it's more artistic.
I was never, and I'm sorry. Like I'm very I find the silver lining in everything. I did not enjoy The Good Dinosaur at all.
I didn't either.
At all.
Really brings down the mood, right?
Yeah, the father dies in it. The whole movie. Yeah, the whole movie is a crisis. The whole movie is a crisis. Even the end, like you would think that the two of them are going to stay together, and they don't. Like I just was like, "Yo, I can't watch this movie again. I'm done." I watched it once, and then I came back to it. I watched it a second time, thinking maybe I was just overly harsh on it. And then the second time I watched it, I was like, "Nope, don't like it."
That's okay.
That was my 22, by the way. The Good Dinosaur.
Mine too.
Oh wow,
my 22 as well.
My 22 was Wally.
Yeah, it was 22, and then 19 was John for The Good Dinosaur. But I mean, the Toy Story surprised me. I love Toy Story too. So then to see that at number at 12 was a shock. To see the group put that there. Yeah, I mean, that was like those two when they hit the bottom, that bottom mark for me below the top 10. I was really shocked. I wasn't surprised by Toy Story 4.
No,
it's a polarizing film. There's some people who didn't want it to be made. They thought it was a cash grab. I loved Toy Story 4. So Toy Story 4 for me was, hold on, let me look. I got my notes. That was 7. I put it at 7 and John put it at 7. I liked the ending that Woody got in that movie. Some people didn't. Yeah. I liked Woody's ending. I was sad that Woody and Buzz are parting ways. And there's it smacks of realism. Some people didn't like that. They wanted to keep the gang together. Mm-hmm, but I felt like Woody got the ending he deserved at the end of 4, that he had fallen out of favor with Bonnie. He didn't really have a purpose in the room anymore. And he found a happy ending for him.
Yeah, I think it set it up for like other movies too. Like they introduced new characters, as well as kind of like separated the plot a little bit. So I loved it. I thought it was good.
The thing I love about the Toy Story franchise is every single film adds new layers to it. There's new characters, there's new toys. Mm-hmm. That's why that franchise, I dare I say, like you could have 10 films and still, I think it would be, I'll go watch 10 Toy Stories.
Oh, definitely.
Because I know you're going to get new toys. Even like the Disney Plus released this week, the Halloween special from a few years ago.
Yeah, it's great.
Absolutely. I always watch those.
Yeah.
How great is Combat Carl? Combat Carl is awesome. Speaks in third person. I love it.
I like Party Rex is really funny too.
Yeah. So to me, the Toy Story films, like you can't go wrong. I was a little sad to see it dip that low. Like 9% of our voters put it in their top 10. But even when it came out and the movie was brand new, there was like the existential struggle on every Facebook group that people loved it or they hated it. It's a very polarizing movie. Some people wanted 3 to be it. But I've set up a fictitious narrative for 4 that someday being at the fair, he's going to run into an adult Andy again. Like, by the way, this is my... So I'm writing. So FYI, I'm writing in my head. I'm ghostwriting Toy Story 5. So he's at the fair, and Andy brings his kid to the fair.
Stop! I got goosebumps.
And he's going to see Andy with his kid, and he's going to put himself up to be won by Andy, and then it's going to start again. He's going to become a part of Andy's household again. Like, that's my perfect Toy Story 5 right there. Boom. Disney, listen to this podcast. It's a moneymaker, and everyone will love you again because he'll come back to where he's supposed to be. He's Andy's toy. He's supposed to be Andy's toy forever.
That's right.
Gosh, that'd be so good.
Right? Is that it or what?
Absolutely.
Let's start the petition.
Let's do it. John, let's get the what are the online petitions called? I'm having a break.
I know. I can't think of them either.
Yeah.
100 signatures. That's all
the time. change.org. That's it.
Yeah, there it is.
Hit me with the change.org petition for Toy Story 5, the return of Andy. All right,
You're
guys, so
gonna be
you
the
ready?
writer.
Anything else to say about the bottom 11?
I think these all make sense.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
A little shocking with some of them, but like it's not what Dwayne didn't already say.
No, I kind of, like I said, when we talked about this before we even, set up the poll or anything, my biggest concern, because I'm a Toy Story fan, just like you are, it sounds like all of us are, the split vote. It's the same scenario as when somebody's up for a Grammy and they've got two songs that are up for the same Grammy. They split their own vote and makes it hard.
Right.
So with Toy Story 4, kind of same thing. Toy Story 3, 2, all of them, they were splitting the vote.
Yeah,
so,
totally makes sense.
I see it.
I thought about that as I voted, and then I didn't feel guilty. So just to let you know, in my top 10, all 4 Toy Stories for me landed in the top 10 for me. I didn't feel guilty at all. I was like, you know what? So be it. It's how I feel. I'm just going to let it go. It's my show.
That's right.
I had 3 of them in my top 10, but I did feel a little bit guilty. So I had to add, some filler.
All right. So number 10 is not going to surprise anybody. It's a great movie. I think it's deserved to be in the top 10. It's nice to see this movie getting a lot of love, but number 10. Ratatouille.
That's
nice.
That's actually exactly where I had it.
Yep.
It was number 10 on my list.
It was number 9 for me. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Ratatouille was not when it was brand new. I'll be the first to admit it wasn't a film that I think that we jumped on or even gushed over when we watched it. But as time has gone on, it has a lot of replay value. I'm loving all of the attention that it's getting because you have the IP that's being injected over into Epcot. So there's that excitement. But I feel like Remy has really gotten a lot more love over the last 5 years than he had even when the film was brand new, which is cool. It's getting a cult following.
Yeah, the food and wine festivals have really helped with that, I think. The fine Remy's and stuff. Yeah, it's a great movie though.
My wife, Linda, is terrified of mice and rats, fictitious or real. Real ones, the house is getting burned down. If she comes across her mice, when we have mice in the house, she never wants to know. It's like the secret. I have to just catch them and get rid of them we've never had a mouse. Linda, we've never had a mouse, by the way. This has never had to be done.
Fictitious story.
So she avoided Ratatouille just because the main character is a rat. And I want to say it was this is definitely a quarantine viewing, by the way. This is not something that happened years ago. So during quarantine, she finally sat down to watch it and then said to me, that movie's really good. I said, yeah, I've been telling you that for how long now, but you won't watch it because there was a rat in it. And she liked it. So that's a testament to how good Ratatouille is. If it could get my wife to come and say to me, I liked it, it's a good movie. It pulls on the heartstrings a little bit.
Yeah.
Does she like Mickey Mouse?
She does.
Okay.
Mickey Mouse is too. Mickey Mouse is there's no look or feel there of a rodent. So he's good. Mickey's good.
That's awesome.
But Remy is very much a rat.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The whole story of it too. He wants to be clean and eat well. I love it.
And the character I love, even more so than Remy, I love the critic. The critic is the best part of the film to me. That when he comes around from being a person who's overly miserable and you can tell not really happy, and then he has the connection to the dish at the end, which reconnects him to the happiness in his childhood. And it really is like a life-changing event for him. So much so that then he becomes the patron for the new restaurant when they close the one because it gets shut down.
Right.
That's the greatest part of the story for me, is not just that he gets to cook and be happy and that everyone gets their happy ending, but that is the best part of that movie to me, is that even this guy who had the most miserable existence then comes around and finds his light. He finds the reason to live again. That was the coolest part.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I agree. It was right. It was right there for all of us. We were not that far off with Ratatouille. So no shock. Totally deserves to be in the top 10 and crack the top 10. I love it being right where it is. All right, number 9. a bit of a shock to me. Number 9 was The Incredibles.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm sitting here looking at my list. I told you this would happen. Even while I'm sitting here, there's things in my top 10 that I could see moving. When Mark and I were talking earlier today, I said, I feel like I could have taken like the whole middle and almost at times inverted the middle, depending on the day, the time, what I was watching, what mood I was in. You know?
Yeah.
But The Incredibles actually, I thought it was great. And as when we were talking earlier about Incredibles 2 Fallen, I actually thought it was really good. You know,
Yeah.
That whole franchise is fun. And again, I have great memories with my kids in those movies.
Yeah, it was number 5 for me.
Yeah. We were so Incredibles. I said 6. It was 5 for John. It was 7 for Dwayne. I thought this would have performed better because it's one of their bigger IPs. When you think of Pixar, you think of The Incredibles. The superhero element is it attracts a lot of male and female viewers, and it's really family friendly. And there's a lot of adults who like it as well. It plays really well, and there's a kitsch to it because it's got like the 1950s and 60s kind of feel to it. It's a cool, like there's a cool vibe to it. It has a very cool feel to the movie. It's not just a superhero movie.
It's almost sci-fi-y too. Like, yeah, very neat.
I would have thought most people would have fell in line with how we voted. So I was a little surprised to see it down there towards the bottom. But again, it's competing with some really great films. When you get to the top 10 and I say like some of these films, you're going to say, wow, I get it. But I love that movie. The characters are great. I don't think we're done with The Incredibles. I think you'll get a 3.
Yeah, I agree.
The second one performed really well. And the kids, when you're talking about a family and as a family grows together, I think you're just going to start to see that narrative progress as well.
Jack's Powers just came out. Like, yeah, that's going to be a great movie.
It's going to be great.
I was just going to say, I also like just the comedy aspect of it. There's that, I don't know, maybe it is because of the time period, but that kind of comedy feel to the movie that just gives it a little pizzazz for me.
Like when he's getting in his car.
So that's another one that because of the nature of the subject matter, every film can have different superheroes coming in and out. And like there was even a lot of tongue-in-cheek stuff with the second one, like the Regurgitator.
Right.
Like what's his superpower is he has acid reflux. Like just that alone was like hysterical. I mean, like I've suffered from acid reflux and it's not funny, but it's funny. That it's not really a superpower, but there's stuff like that like Disney made so funny in that film that they really like. It's just hysterical the way that they use different things like that and made them hysterical. But they do that with every film.
Oh yeah.
All right, so number 8. I'm gonna just tell you, I did not understand number 8. Wasn't a fan of number 8 of all of the Disney IPs. It falls lower. Number 8. Was Cars, the original Cars. So here's a film that 2 and 3 bottomed out on our list. Cars 2 got 2% of the vote. Cars 3 got 2.1% of the vote. Cars got 28.6% of the vote. So Lightning McQueen's first film did very well and beat out a film I didn't think it would beat The Incredibles, and it did. So it's number 8.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say. I'm not saying anything because I don't really.
I feel like that's because of like kids rewatching it. I feel like kids love Cars. Like my son loves Cars, and I feel like the family probably just hears it a lot.
Yeah, my son did too. My son really loved Cars, the first one, and then we had all of them. We had still to this day. I think in our attic have cases with all of the Cars characters, in the box and everything else.
Yeah,
and Dwayne, you had this high. This was 4 for you.
Yeah. And it's one especially because I just told you my kids are watching a movie right now that I actually might have possibly swapped with it at 4. But, that's why I said that's a changing thing, which I also think is great about Pixar movies.
Yeah.
Because there's a different movie for a different time, and a different space that you're in. But yeah, I mean, I again, this one specifically with my son. He enjoyed cars, and because of that, him and I had a lot to connect on. When I was a kid, Matchbox cars and Hot Wheels was, man, I mean, that was a big part. So, for me, he got the actual cars, Lightning McQueen and Mater and all that. And we'd sit in the floor and him and I would play, and that was fun for me. So I think, again, it's memories and connection.
Now, our group, we were way off on this, by the way. When we tallied the three of us, Cars was our 15th. Dwayne had it at 4. I put Cars, the original, at 18, and John had it at 17. So our average score for this, when we compared it to the other votes, it wound up averaging out at 15 for us when you took all three of them and we just added them together and then divided by 3. So we were like way off on what the people loved about Cars, and that's fine. Like, everybody's got their favorites. I'm gonna cry a little bit, later on, like, because in our vote, gentlemen, like some of my votes were hanging, but I was actually vindicated. Like, just so that you know, and I'm gonna prepare y'all for this. Some of my favorite picks are, as you've noticed, they're not even revealed yet. Yeah. I'm in tune with the people. I'm a man of the people here. All right, so number
also
8 was Cars.
The results.
Listen, I'm happy for Cars. I'm happy for people that like it. I'm not a fan per se, but again, that's what this is about. It's about the people's vote. The people have spoken, and Cars is number 8. Number 7. The only princess in Pixar is Brave. So number 7 was Brave, with 30.3% of people putting Merida and Brave in their top 5 films.
Melissa's going to be upset that it didn't make the top 5.
I was a little surprised that it didn't as well.
What was your number?
So for Brave, I put Brave at 15. I like it, but that was a tough choice for me.
Yeah, I put her at 12.
You had it at 12. Dwayne had it at 5.
She's my wife's favorite princess.
She's you know what though?
She's fun.
She is very fun. She is definitely one of my favorite princesses. I love her attitude. I love the spunk. I love the story. It's a great story. It's just when I had to choose, it was a hard choice for me. Because there's other films that I watch with greater regularity than I do Brave. I don't watch it as much as I do some of the other films. But like Bella and I will watch it numerous times throughout the course of the year, but it's just not on replay, say, as much like for us as like a Monsters, Inc. or an Incredibles and Inside Out. Like those are the films that I can watch again and again and again and again and again. But I mean, it's a great film for little girls to watch. I mean, I love that she doesn't take any garbage, Merida. I love her attitude. I love the moral of the story. I love the ending, and the healing between her and her mom and her family. And absolutely. That she can be an independent person, but at the same time connected to, her parents and what they want for her. And that they, there's the misunderstanding of, maybe they're just speaking 2 different languages at the same time, at different times, they don't understand each other, but the love that holds them together at the end makes them realize that they always want the best for each other. Family is stronger than anything. It's the strongest bond.
Absolutely.
So I love that. That's what we do with these. People are like, "Oh, it's a cute cartoon." I'm like, "Are we watching the same thing?"
Let me break this down for you.
Let me break this down. Let me Siskel and Ebert this for you right now. Cartoons. But like, can we be friends anymore? All right, number 6. Number 6, I felt vindicated by number 6.
I can guess it.
I know you're gonna. So go ahead. You know what it is.
My guess. This is my guess. Number 6 is Inside Out.
Correct.
Winner.
Correct. Inside Out was my number 4. I don't want you to think I had it at number 1. Inside Out, I have a soft spot for it. Dwayne had it at 18. John had it at 13.
People agreed with you, though.
I was vindicated. The people knew.
That's it.
I am a man. I am a man of the people.
It's so tough though, because like I love Inside Out. It's hilarious. Like it's also meaningful, but like top 5, it's just tough.
So going back to emotional connections of films, like my daughter, we're probably going like 3-4 years ago, and my daughter was hitting that age where she was finally sitting down in entireties to watch movies. She would watch movies before that, but clips. Like, you know, she was old. Like she would watch Frozen. She would hear Elsa sing, and then she would walk away from the screen. Like she wouldn't sit and watch those movies at a younger age. So my wife was out shopping, and I remember this came on. We did not see it in the theaters back then because she was not watching movies, and there was no point in going to a movie theater when all she would want to do is run around. So this was the first movie that I ever remember sitting down. It was the two of us making a bowl of popcorn and watching Inside Out together. And then when Bing Bong goes bye-bye, she just reached over and held me. And like she got that moment.
So sweet.
And I was a mess. And then her holding me in that moment that she was very sad that Bing Bong left the movie. I can't say what happened to him because I get too much. So that is why, Dwayne, that movie's not an 18 for me. There was an emotional.
Exactly. Emotional connection is where it's at. And that's what the movie was for. And I'm hearing your story. I should have moved it up higher.
Yeah.
What was I thinking?
But the other thing that I love about that movie is, again, like I always overthink these movies. I just love that concept of inside all of us are these competing emotions that are like in the nerve center. How creative, like for people who wrote that, and I appreciate the art in that someone sat down, just like Toy Story. What a great concept that someone sat down and created a world based upon toys or based upon these 5 emotions that live inside of Riley's brain. And like the whole concept and the construct of the brain and the centers. And then the end of that it's okay to not have joy all the time. That like, who would have thought that at the end, that sadness, who's that wah-wah character plays such an important role. Like the lesson is that it's okay sometimes to embrace those things. Like that's what makes us all human. And it's all of these emotions working in concert that just make you a well-rounded person. Like that to me was like, wow, that's so great. I love it.
Yeah.
All wrapped up in a family movie. So good.
And, you know, and again, to go back to the idea of people are like, you thought that the toys were going to die. I'm like, dude, they killed Bing Bong.
Exactly.
Like, ripped my heart out of my chest. They killed Bing Bong. So
in front of my daughter.
I was in lockstep with the people on that. It was 6. I was okay with that because I had it at 4. Number 5. I love number 5 too. I felt vindicated by number 5. And Dina Hendry, who's in our group, is not going to be happy about this because number 5 was Up.
Okay.
Dina hates 4. Up. She couldn't get past the beginning.
Yeah. It wasn't in my wife's top 5 because she said it's too sad.
Devastating.
But it's so good. And it's, you know.
When Ellie, in the first 5 minutes, when that happens and Ellie dies, I can't. I'm a
sobbing.
Mess. I'm a mess. That is the one movie that I think every single time I watch it, I do tear up. And I tear up again at the end when the house rests at Paradise Falls, just as she wanted it. And they kind of show you that like it all worked out.
Yeah.
I have goosebumps, literally. Yeah. Every time too, like it's such a good movie.
I can't.
Definitely top 5 for me.
Yeah, it's heartwarming. I had it in the top 10. It's a great movie. And it's one you can watch over and over again too.
Mm-hmm. I love it. I have on any given day, it depends on my mood. I could easily put it at number 1, which is my shot. I could easily put it at number 1. Wow. I have so much Up merch. I have the grape soda pin. Like that is one of my favorite pieces of Disney merch. I have the grape soda pin. I have a grape soda shirt. We have all kinds of Up stuff in the house. I love it.
So cool. Have you the adventure at Animal Kingdom, that's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Where you go and collect your little stamps.
Russell is not my favorite part of the movie. I love Russell. I think he's hysterical. But to me, I love Carl and Ellie. Like that's it for me. That's it. That's like the perfect movie. And even though she's not there, she's always there. And again, that's the beautiful thing about these movies. She's gone in the first 5 minutes, and yet her fingerprint is on the entire movie. Like you can see that she's left an indelible mark on Carl, that no matter where she is, she's always going to be with him in spirit. It's beautiful. Like
you only see her for 5 minutes and you're like hooks.
And that's the power of good writing. You're only with her for 5 minutes, and yet for the remainder of the movie, like you feel her with you for the rest of the movie. I felt so good to see Up at number 5. It made me feel good as the people's vote were there. We had Up at 8, 9, and 4. So we all agreed. We loved Up. Each one of us had it in our top 10. And on any given day, it could go from 8 to 1 for me. That's how much I love these top movies, because I really could flip them on any day.
Yeah,
for sure.
There's definitely, obviously we all know kind of what's left. So, I can agree with pretty much what's left, as being iconic. They're iconic movies.
When you think Pixar, these top 4 movies are the flagship properties for the Pixar studio. So it's just a matter of how they're going to play out at this point, which really, that's the remainder of the list, is like, which one did the people say is the movie that deserves to be the tentpole for Pixar? Number 4. So let's get right into it. Number 4, Finding Nemo.
Great movie.
Great movie.
It is a great movie. I say great series.
It could also be my number 1 on any given day. I love this movie. And FYI, Marlin is like my spirit animal, by the way. I am Marlin. Like, I am Albert Brooks in real life, in many cases, with my child. FYI, like, I'm that guy that's constantly worried and like trying to be like the helicopter parent. I've always been with Isabella. So I identify like she's my baby egg that I've held. And I never want to have anything bad happen to her. And I am Marlin in that, like, again, I identify with Nemo on a different way. Like, I have been trying to grow out of being the guy that won't leave the anemone to trying to realize, like, your kid's growing up and you got to let them go and you got to let them fly a little bit.
Right.
Everybody else watches and they're like, hey, cute fish. I'm like, no, man, I'm Marlin. Linda is not Dory, by the way. She is not Dory. I don't want her to listen back. Linda, if you're listening, I don't want you to be like, so what, am I forgetful? I'm like all over the place. No, you're not my Dory. I'm just saying I'm Marlin in this scenario. I'm not calling you Dory. I see something in Marlin that I identify with, and I'm sure that you would agree with that sentiment as well. But great movie.
Absolutely. Wonderful movies. Definitely one of the flagships of Pixar.
I would say the one disappointment that I had with the sequel was some of the great supporting cast of the first film did not really make it. Like, I loved the aquarium fish in the first movie. Like, I liked Gil, I liked all those guys, and they had a cameo, but that was about it. But again, that's the great thing about Nemo, was we had some really cool characters in the second one, like Hank the octopus.
Yeah, I love Hank.
Was great. Loved it.
And Dory's parents were like a nice addition too.
Yep. Yeah, it's a great film. I would not be heartbroken if there was a third film in that series. I'd like to see more Nemo.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what they're going to do. I hope they don't go with the lost aspect again. I hope they just have something completely different. Again, we're just ghostwriting here. Like, what better way to talk about the destruction of the ecosystem? What if the reef is threatened? Bum, bum, bum.
Oh yeah.
Bring it on.
Yeah, that's interesting. They need to escape the water.
Pixar, if you're looking for someone to create content for you, I'm right here.
Right there.
That's it.
I'm not going anywhere. All right, number 3. And this is it. This is the top 3. This is for all the marbles. When I tell you 3, and you know what's left, I think your mouth's going to open a little bit about, if not 2, 1. I think you're going to be like, wow. Number 3, again, tentpole film. Everyone identifies Pixar from this film. Number 3. Monsters, Inc.
Yes. Great movie. That's the movie I was saying a few minutes ago. My kids currently at this very moment are in the next room watching Monsters, Inc. currently. And that's why when I was looking at my list, I said I probably, in hindsight, already would have it higher than I did.
Yeah.
It's such a great movie. And I was just watching 15 minutes of it. What a great movie.
Dwayne had it 6. This was my number 2 film.
It was really low for me.
Monsters, Inc. I was in a former life, I was a social studies, economics, basically I was a social studies teacher. And at the end of the year, as a reward, we would teach economics and supply and demand through Monsters, Inc. It was the end of the year. The kids were like, it's kind of like that awkward year where that awkward point of every school year, you collect the books. There's not a lot of new curriculum. Kids are on field day. They're kind of like being sent to school to fulfill the state requirements. So I would show Monsters, Inc. And then I would use like mini lessons and talk about supply and demand. And again, it was like 7th grade. So you didn't get too complex with the concept of it. But we would frame supply and demand and like essentially like all these macro and economic principles through the lens of Monsters, Inc. And it was the most enjoyable week that I had when the kids would come in and watch a half-hour clip. And we were like kind of getting them into the summer vacation mode. But like, I love Monsters, Inc. Love it.
Yeah. Great movie.
So good. Are you guys ready? This is it.
I'm ready.
We only have 2 left. Number 2, and I have to be, so our top 2, the panel, and we agreed, we were in lockstep with our top 2. Number 2 warmed my heart. This was the one that I was like, this was the dark horse that I was rooting for the entire competition because I love this film. It like is just a really great film. I love the lessons and the morals of it. Number 2. Coco.
Yes.
It's awesome.
Love it.
Yeah.
Here's how amazing Coco is as a film. People love Frozen, all things Frozen. When Disney attached a Frozen film, the short, to this, people were actually upset that they thought it was gimmicky, that they thought the film was so good, they just wanted it to stand on its own. And people were like, take Frozen out of it, please. Just show us Coco. We don't want you to, don't try to get us to the theater to Coco by promising us Frozen. Just give us Coco. That's how good it is.
Yeah. They literally removed it too.
And they took it off. And they took it off.
Yeah. Yeah, Coco's so great. I had no idea, like, I didn't even watch a trailer, honestly. I just went and saw it, and, like, I could not believe it. It was so good. And I felt like it was so, like, honestly, I didn't see it coming. Like, the villain and stuff, I just did not have any clue.
No.
I think that's one of the reasons that it was so good to me is I didn't see it coming. Yeah. And it was like, and just the whole film, there was the music and the visual, I think was great.
It's a gorgeous film.
The marigolds, floating.
So pretty.
The colors.
And, it's just, I just thought it was great. And, we've all been talking about our kids. Again, this was a movie that I went and saw the very first time with just me and my son. And we both were just like, wow, we left there and we were all pumped up. And then I think we came home, told the rest of the family, then we all went back and saw it again.
It's so good.
I love the end where he's singing to his grandmother to get her to remember.
Yeah.
And like that moment, like, it's so good. And I could watch that again and again and again. And it doesn't matter if it's the 10th viewing or the 15th. That moment holds just as much weight as the first time that I watched it, where I'll just stop. Like, I could be cleaning the room and my daughter's watching Coco and that'll come on and I'll stop, pause whatever I'm doing just to watch that.
Yeah.
Because that moment is just so good. And
it's so calming too. Like
from
the whole movie,
it is
great.
But like some of these movies, just from the standpoint of they're just such great teaching tools for kids. Like, and that's the other thing that unfortunately it took us until Coco to really get into this aspect of it. But I love the way that Disney will broach specific topics, and the topic of death is such a heavy topic.
Mm-hmm.
And yet that movie focuses on and is centered around the idea of people being gone and yet never being gone. And I remember, like, right after we watched that, my daughter took out all of these old photos that we had of dogs that, again, she'd never really remembered and or knew, and put them on her dresser. And I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like, this is my ofrenda for all of my dogs. And like, I tried not to overreact to that, but like, I was like, oh my goodness, like what an amazing thing that like she would see the videos of the dogs that had like, they were older when she was like 2 and 3. So she didn't remember our dogs, Macy, and she didn't remember Bailey, and she did not remember Zoe. But like she would see them in videos. We would show her videos of her crawling and whatnot. And she put these pictures up on her thing. And she said, this is my friend. Like, these were my dogs and they'll always be with me. Oh. Like, whoa. Like, again, you think you're watching cartoons, and these are more than cartoons. Like, these are some powerful films. And like, kudos to Disney. I'm so glad that this was number 2. I almost jumped up for joy when I saw that it got this high. Dina is going to be so excited. Dina was like really into this list, and she loves Coco. And I love the film. Like, I just think it's a great film for kids to, it's not just about death. It's also about family. It's also about finding your place. It's also about part of being something that's much bigger than you. It's about passion. Yeah. Like, it's just a great movie. It has so much.
The truth always comes out too.
Yep. And I can't wait. Speaking of Coco, I can't wait. We all know it's going to happen. It's just now at this point, it's a matter of money when that IP becomes a bigger part of the park. And I really think it's going to become part of Epcot. I love the Three Caballeros. Love that ride. But I will love when Coco takes over the Mexican pavilion. And that becomes a Coco boat ride. I can't wait to see, especially having done, John, right, the projections of like Runaway Railway. Can you imagine what the projections are going to look like for when you cross over?
You transform? Yeah, crazy.
It's going to be amazing. And
there's so much potential there. I really hope they like actually do it.
Yeah,
I think they're going to at this point. Like, it seems like Epcot has become a place for IPs. It looks like. I mean, right now it's on hold, but Mary Poppins is going to be going over into England. You have Remy is going, the Remy's Adventure is going over in France. They just took over one of our big news that we had on our Friday Night Live. We do news now on Friday nights over at our group, and we do a live podcast there. Disney took over Morocco, and they took full ownership of the Moroccan pavilion. So now that they don't have that relationship with offending anyone, with the state not wanting to and I understand this, like the state would not want to have it be cartoony, but now that Disney owns that and it's going to be inspired by Morocco and not run by the government agency, you can have a lot more Aladdin in that pavilion as well.
Absolutely.
Germany's been kicked around for something for years, and people have talked about like a Snow White based attraction over there. So I think it's just a matter of time as Epcot grows. You're going to see Coco there. I can't wait. So gentlemen, this is it. I would not say it's a surprise. Dwayne, you're 2 for 2 now, but you had Team Dwayne won Everest. It was Dwayne's revenge. I don't know if this is really your revenge at this point. Like, this is, like, I wouldn't say it's like the Empire Strikes Back, because I wouldn't say you're the Empire, but like you're on a roll, buddy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think there's a lot of people. Obviously, a lot of people feel the same way. I mean,
so let's make it. Amazing. Yeah, let's make it official. Number 1. Is Toy Story.
Yes. Love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm on round.
Love that.
The original. You cannot beat it. It was number one for all three of us, by the way.
Yep.
There was no, like in our last vote where Rock and Roller Coaster pulled some of our votes. This did not wind up pulling anyone's vote. Everyone was decidedly at number one. Matt's going to be super excited that this was at number one.
Yeah.
I think Matt would have quit the podcast if this wasn't at number one. Matt would have been like, I'm done. I'm swearing it off. I unsubscribed. Mark, have a good life. I don't know what is going on. We matched the people's vote. And, it was pretty overwhelming too, by the way. 62% of people had this one in their top 5.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. Such a great movie.
Listen, it's what started everything. If I have one critique about Toy Story, but one, I hope that they utilize technology. I would love to see them update the tech in it and to give it a little bit more of a polish, because when you watch it compared to 4, it's a noticeable change. I don't want them to get rid of it like they did with Star Wars, where there is no more, like the original cut is gone. It's all special edition now. I don't want that, because I appreciate Toy Story is in history of filmmaking. The original, you can't throw it away. I would like to see an extended or like an elaborated version of it where all of the gloss is thrown on it. I think that would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe for like the 30th anniversary, it's coming up.
Sid is looking a little worse for wear. I don't know when was the last time you saw a Toy Story, but like Sid, he's legit. He's always scary, but he's scary.
Glitchy.
Yeah. He's real scary. He's like he's like the glitch in a video game that you're playing a video game and all of the surfaces don't render.
Right.
That's what Sid's looking like when you go back and watch it.
Yeah.
Too funny.
I love that movie though. I was telling you before, not the movie itself stands on its own, but for me, again, emotional connection is where it's at, because this was the movie that my wife and I was our first date. Our very first date, obviously before we got married, was to see the movie Toy Story, of all things. And then my kids both just loved it as well. And even my daughter, when she was little, she would carry around Buzz and Woody. She had a Woody doll, and his arm didn't tear, but his vest did. And we had to have his vest repaired. And I mean, it was like, just the whole thing. It was, our kids were all in. My wife and I were all in. So, it just holds such a special place. And like you said, not just the emotional connection, but the connection between Buzz and Woody, and then just all the other characters, all the supporting cast, Rex and Ham and Slinky Dog, and it's just Bo Peep. I mean, it's on and on. The Army Men. I mean, come on, the Green Army Men, they're awesome.
Yeah. I think that's what, for me, I know we got into a little bit about, the love-hate relationship that people have with 4, but that's the thing I think I loved about 4 was I felt like 4 was a better ending for Woody. That I thought that was the ending. I don't think that's the ending the crew deserved. It was the ending that Woody deserved.
Right.
But the end for me, when people were like, "Yo, you're gonna choke up a little bit," when Woody and Buzz go their separate way, like that moment where they say to infinity, and then they're not even in the same place. And then you get that end beyond. It was too much for me at that moment. Yeah. But you know what? Again, what I've liked about this episode, guys, is we're not just talking about like the scenes or whatnot. Like, it's the thing that are great about these Pixar films. What's great about the Pixar studio is the way that they've used these animated films to bring about more than just a cute story about toys. When you're a kid, you watch them and that's what it is. Like, you love the characters, and then you get older and you watch things again. Like, there's films that I grew up on as a kid and I'll go back and watch, and there's innuendo or there's things I never noticed. But the thing I love about Toy Story is, especially the last one about 4, is you identify with, we've all had friends who come in and out of our lives at various points, and they're no longer in your life. They're not gone, but they're not a part of your life anymore. And it doesn't diminish the relationship that you had, and you'll remember and recapture that moment of time, and they'll always be with you no matter where you go, and no matter you move on. And so like that to me was that moment where I connected as a human being and thought of all of the friends that I've had over the course of my life as I've grown and matured. And many of them, they have families of their own. Many have moved across. Like as I say this, I have my best friend in the whole world lives across country. I called him, he's like my brother, and he still is like my brother, and I miss him tremendously. But he lives in California, and like he's the buzz to my Woody. Like I'm off doing my own thing, and he's off doing his own thing in California, and yet we are very much just like appreciative of everything that we ever had in our story. So that to me was what I loved about that moment, was it made me sort of reflect upon that human element of no matter where we are in our lives or how geography or whatever separates us, we always will have that and we'll always be together. And that's what's so great about the movie. People were like, but they're gone. They'll never be friends again. I'm like, they're always going to be friends. They'll always have each other. And that to me was the perfect ending, that Woody got his happy ending. And yet everybody was where they were supposed to be, if that makes sense. It was
and they'll all come together again for 5.
For 5 at Pixar, if you're listening. So they will all come together again for 5 when Andy goes to the fair and wins Woody back in the game and gives him to his son. And it all comes again full circle. You're going to all be happy. And then you'll thank me. You'll thank me.
Or Pixar. Let me throw a little hook in that. They put it on Disney Plus as a series. They do a 10-episode, 30-minute series.
Nice.
Stop.
Yeah, and they wrap it up real good. Then
let's do it.
If we live long enough, they'll do a live action remake.
Call
too.
My agent. So. Call my agent. I want 10%. Gentlemen, this was so much fun again.
Yeah.
Dwayne, we got to start thinking of the next list. Hey, we have some great episodes here. Thank you so much again to these two gentlemen for joining us from For the Love of Disney World. Thanks for all the work you put in. I know that this one too, with everything going on lately, we're in the midst of like the craziest time of year, and like to get people to just come out and vote was a little bit tougher this time. But thank you so much for all the work that you did. Thanks for your contributions as well. Continuing contributions to the podcast. Hope you had a good time. It's not even see you later. It's let's get the next one going. I'll see you again soon.
See you real soon.
Awesome.
Thank you guys.
See ya.
Take care. Thank you again so much for joining us here at Dislife Podcast. I hope you had a fun time with us this week as we talked about our favorite Pixar films. Join us again next week as we have a really special interview. I don't want to spill the beans, but this is going to be one that you definitely do not want to miss. And again, check out all of our old episodes over at www.disneyLifePodcast.com. Go on to the website, like, subscribe, and rate our podcast. And check us out on Instagram at Dislife Podcast, where we share some of the beautiful pictures of our contributor, John Hinson. Have a great week. Thank you all for tuning in, and I hope the rest of your week is filled with faith, trust, and pixie dust. See you real soon.